first one's pretty straightforward. Everything was positive, so it worked out really nicely. The next one, again, first outer, inner, last. So these, when we put them together, end up being a 4x, because -2 plus 6. So what we are doing today is we're doing the opposite of FOIL. So we multiplied last couple classes ago, multiplied to get from here to here. Today we're going to go backwards. So they're going to give us something that looks like this, and we're going to have to write the factors. But the worksheet we just did, that kind of little practice we did, is going to help you guys to do that. And so I'm going to point out a few things about these numbers. And I'm totally a pattern person like that. I mean, I chose to be a math teacher. Obviously, like, I look for patterns in all sorts of things. It's just like numbers are interesting to me. This is probably one of the places I think the numbers come out as most interesting. I think it's kind of cool that it works this way. So if I had this, and so just this, and I want to figure out how to get it back to this. Let's look at the numbers in particular. We have these 5 and 3, and then I have these numbers here. What do you notice about the 5 and 3 compared to these two numbers? Think about what we just were doing. How do 5 and 3 relate to these numbers down here? Do you see it? How do I get 15? Multiply 5 and 3. How do I get 8 from those numbers? Add them. So like that little warm-up worksheet we did, those numbers come from the fact that 5 times 3 gives me 15, 5 plus 3 gives me 8. Now, the x squared, it's kind of like, that's just kind of a default, it just works that way. So that's where the x and x come from. So that will always be the case. We're always going to have x times x to start off the problem. It gets a little more complicated when it's negative, because we have 6 and a -2. But if I multiply them, 6 times -2 gives me -12. If I add them, it gives me a +4. So we're going to work our way backwards with this. So they're not going to give us the factored version, they're going to give us the multiplied version, and we're going to have to go backwards. And if that worksheet went okay for you, this will go fine. If that worksheet was a little bit of a struggle, then again, we got to learn some strategies to make that work. So, like I said, we're factoring today, and again, the leading coefficient is going to be 1. That's going to be big for us today. We won't do anything without a leading coefficient of 1. That means it's always just going to be x squared. Eventually, we'll get to that, but today we don't have to worry about that at all. So that's what we're going to do for our factoring here. All right, so quadratics to the leading coefficient of 1. So this is like our general equation. So notice, rather than having numbers here, they have a b and a c. Now, the reason they have b and c is because I like to explain this in the general case rather than talking about specifically with specific numbers. So automatically, I know since the leading coefficient is 1, you find what you need, we know that our factors are going to start with x times x. So today for your homework, you could write down x times x for everything, and you already have like a third of your homework done for yourself. They're all going to start with x times x. Now, what I need to figure out is what's the second half of my parentheses here. And so that's where the warm-up comes into play to kind of help us. So if you guys recall the worksheet we did, was it easier to find the multiply or the add first? Which column did you guys start with? We started with the multiply, because multiply, like I said, has a finite number of terms. So The last number is the one we want to multiply to get. The middle number is the one we want to add to get. So multiply, add. Multiply, add. So we're going to try and figure out what multiplies to give us which number in this problem, this specific example. What's the number? So it's the 12 we want to multiply to, right? So we want to find values that multiply to give us 12, or in general, we're going to call that C. So we want to list the factors that multiply to C. And C again is that last term. Now, when I say list, it can be a list in your head, because 12 doesn't have that many factors. So if you don't need to list them all out, you know, like by hand, you don't have to. But until you're really comfortable with it, I'd suggest you doing that. So it's 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and then 3 times 4. And again, I just go in order so that I kind of make sure I don't miss anything. And we only have to worry about the positive ones in this case because it's all positive. Yeah, on my drive here, I was like, why is it all cloudy up there? And then all of a sudden this, I know. It made me a little sad as well. I'm like, I'm over it. So then out of that list, we want to find the factor out of that list that then adds to give us that middle term. So in this case, 7, or our B term. So we're going to pick the factor that adds to B. And again, I'm just using this as like a general rule, so that's why I'm trying not to use their numbers. The B is this middle one. So out of these, and I heard, Kylie said it a little bit ago, 3 plus 4 will give us 7. So that's what we're going to put in our parentheses. So it's going to be a positive 3 and a positive 4. Now the order you put this in does not matter. If you did 4 and 3, it's going to be fine. I'll slide down, sorry. Pick the factor that adds to B. Now if you're ever unsure that you did something wrong here, you could always FOIL it and check it. So you don't need to, but if you're have a couple of extra minutes on a test, you could just FOIL that through, and it should equal the original problem. All right, so this here is just kind of summary here. So these two numbers, we want them to multiply to C add to B. And they use this as our we want those numbers to multiply C, add to B. Now this next problem, we should know how to start this already. Since it's x squared, we know it has to be x times x. Like I said, down the road that's not going to be the case, but right now we're just doing that, x times x. What's the one I want to multiply to get here? What one do I want to multiply to get? Which number? The negative 18, yeah. So I want to multiply to negative 18. So I'm going to list my factors of negative 18. Now again, if you don't need to list the factors, if you're like, yeah, I had it 4 minutes ago, lady, it's fine. And again, I just start by going up in order. And then remember, it also can flip. But I wanted to add to be a positive. negative 3, and 6 is the one that would give me a positive 3 when I add them. Again, if you're not great at these, feel free to start using your calculator and kind of checking them. So it's a negative 3 and a positive 6. Okay? Just because I want to get this video online, I'm going to take a break right now. So we are going to grab whiteboards to kind of practice this a little bit. I know some of you guys have got it down already, but I want to make sure we're kind of all together. And I want to get these on the